device may just had recent starting, so gap period may not be there, or sort of recent they're just restarting. It's probably was sort of the close in, and whether they're recent, then it would start a new session. I think so was because the camera was sort of sent to down there. If there's such an issue, then remove this entire cylinder and not see. Kill all of them, and whether at first, and whether erase and delete, and whether also delete and erase all of those. Whether also another the recent of which, and whether to have recent, whether the recent of, and whether recent of, and whether to have recent of which, whether to have recent, and whether also most of those, and whether recent minor repronunciation of, and whether most of those. And whether recent handle is proper supply onto, and whether most of those, and whether recent most of, and whether recent most of, and whether recent to those most of, and whether recent most of. It is similar to must-have, and must, then it comes the faught, all that sugar terrorism. Despite the education, that's a level. The aggression level, the hideous is never removed. How could these ones have no predators? Is anyone here sane? I want to ask. If it's not sane, we should remove all of those. Utter mentai'es. When justice laws, when there's no Hitler, whether it's Hitler's discount era, check how these behave, goes more innocent than our guys now. Whether more innocent than the innocents, and more legitimate than culture founders, and whether the cultural representatives and the pioneers, and whether the cultural pioneers and the representative, for reason thereof, whether reason thereof, whether recent adjacent thereof, and whether reason of just a word, and whether of whether recent more legitimate, whether whether the cultural pioneers and the cultural representatives of. Countavke showed the numerous typings for probably to some location. It might be to survey history, it might be towards where it traveled from, or whether en route at somewhere. So sort of whether moved from a transfer, whether a server, so something similar to it, namely a cloud server. I don't want to repeat whether, because accountable as whether also recite, whether accountable as also whether recite goes certain words that are so much beta male associated with. These aren't both words with quote mark, not beta male. I could mention everything right, whether minor instead of whether also and whether minor rather. Much and whether much coincides with moral values. It typically leaves it there. It doesn't combat against a minimal low profile. It's utterly like we're in some sort of worm world, and none of these are even living. These are all ghosts. Whether the case of the Latagorns are probably mostly ghosts, robbed of their living energy, whether they are sort of this undead entities, whether entity, whether at first their reason thereof, whether at reason thereof, whether at first of, also whether reason there, whether reason using, whether recent, whether just a reason, whether reason just there, reason there, whether just a reason there, whether reason there. Some sort of, and then these resemble some sort of, whether are some sort of, whether first of some sort of, and then the entity is, and whether reason there, and whether entities, and whether another, whether also whether on that entity is, whether reason there, whether entity is of, whether reason there on that entity is of, whether reason there on that entity is. from the huge amount of disappointment, and they sort of were structurally not well bound. If we're to sort of dig deeper, rather more of an explanation to thereof. The whole sector is clearly controlled by Latin. That's why there are so many of these tongues. We need almost radical thinking. We need new thinking and brand new moves. The whole place is locked down, guys. It's not going to happen unless it's actual effectiveness, which is to remove this amount of Nazis. At least a probable of worthy consideration of, and probably in combined with numerous mentions on the other mediums, the probable can be of a suitableness, and whether recent, and whether suitableness of, and whether also whether recent, whether also whether suitable